Powered by the political teams of the Washington Post and Newsweek magazine. This is The Political Take, a weekly web video election report online and in real time. Here now, Chris Cillizza and John Meacham.
I'm Chris Cillizza of WashingtonPost.com.
And I'm Dan Kleidman with Newsweek.
And welcome to The Political Take, where Dan and I break down all the news that has been in the week and all the news to look forward to in the week to come. Well, Dan, the Senate has returned to center stage in the last few days. We had a vote on whether Joe Lieberman would stay as Homeland Security Committee chairman, which he won. And then late last night, late Tuesday night, we had news that Ted Stevens, the senator convicted on 7 felony counts, had indeed lost, or at least looks like he was headed to a loss in the Senate race. Stevens or Lieberman, pick one. Dan, chat about it, and I'll jump on the other one.
Well, let me talk about Lieberman. We talked a little bit about this last week. This was, I think, very smart politics on Barack Obama's part. And I think it's reflective of the tone that he says he's trying to set here. He needed Joe Lieberman, obviously, to continue caucusing with Democrats in the Senate if they're going to get anywhere near that filibuster-proof majority, which apparently they seem to be getting a little closer to. But I think he still wanted to send a mild, tame message that Democrats didn't fully appreciate. Lieberman going off the reservation, but he did it just enough so that he kept him close, didn't alienate him. I think it was smart politics, and I think it was smart politics on Joe Lieberman's part also.
Well, just two quick things. One is, I think that Barack Obama probably won himself an ally on some things with Joe Lieberman. I think Joe Lieberman understood that if Barack Obama had said, I do think we should throw him out, that he would have been a lot less likely to keep that Homeland Security chairmanship. So people say, well, Joe Lieberman, he's not going to vote with Barack Obama. I wouldn't be so sure. I mean, they're clearly not going to agree on Iraq, but I wouldn't be so sure.
Yeah.
The other thing is...
And the fact that he reached out to John McCain as well, it's all part and parcel of the same strategy.
Absolutely. The other thing you mentioned, Dan, is the quest for 60 seats, and hope is still alive for Democrats. We mentioned at the top, Ted Stevens now he's down about 3,200 votes to Mark Begich, the Democratic mayor of Anchorage. He has not conceded. The Associated Press has, however, called the race for Begich, and Begich has claimed victory. That would put Democrats at 58 seats in the Senate. That's their highest watermark since 1979, and we still have 2 races out there. I'm not sure when they're going to get decided. We have the Minnesota recount that could head, it's a manual statewide recount of 2.9 million ballots that could head into December, and we have the early December runoff in Georgia. So still a possibility of 60 seats in the Senate, if not a likelihood.
But you know what? Even if they don't get 59 or 60, the reality is that the Democrats, more often than not, I suspect, will be able to pick off a couple of moderate Republicans, people like Susan Collins and Northeastern, more liberal Republicans in the Senate, and they're going to be able to, I think, block most filibusters.
And, well, let's talk about the other big story in Washington, the transition to power as Barack Obama moves from senator to president-elect to president. The big news this week, broken by your own Mike Isikoff, that Eric Holder is very likely to be the next Attorney General. I know that you've known and covered him for a while, Dan. What kind of insight can you give us into Holder?
Well, Holder is an extremely competent, seasoned, professional lawyer. He's a Washington insider and obviously has a lot of experience at the Justice Department, having held the number 2 position. The one issue that he has going forward with his confirmation is his involvement in the Mark Rich pardon. That was more a sin of omission than commission. He let it happen under his watch. My sense with Holder, first of all, I don't think that's going to be a problem with him. I think they've vetted the Judiciary Committee, Republicans and Democrats, and that is not going to be a major issue for him. I think that has more to do with those crazy, frenzied last days of the Clinton administration, when he was worrying about things like inauguration security and a whole lot of other things, and he just let that one get by him. He took his eye off the ball. The thing that Holder's going to need to do is he's going to need to pick a very strong deputy, a kind of a nuts and bolts manager. Interestingly, when he was Janet Reno's deputy, Holder was more of the sort of the visionary. He was the guy who went up and talked to Congress. He had more of a strategic vision for the department and supporting the career law enforcement. He was not the day-to-day manager. Janet Reno did more of that. She was the one who was sort of reaching down to the line lawyers, talking about their cases. So he's going to have to find a strong deputy to do that for him, and he will get through this confirmation, barring unforeseen disclosures. And I think he'll probably be a pretty strong, player. For one thing, he's got very strong relationships in Washington. And he knows Bob Mueller, in fact, hired Bob Mueller at the FBI to be a prosecutor in the U.S. Attorney's Office when he was U.S. Attorney there. Those are the kinds of relationships that are very important as Barack Obama goes forward putting his team together.
I was going to say, I think, the relationships, the sort of Washington insider relationships, I think a lot of people look askance at them, but the truth of the matter is that that's how Washington works in
Absolutely.
a lot of ways. A lot of people were... Go ahead.
Yeah, this notion that that this isn't changed because Barack Obama is selecting, sort of Clinton retreads, frankly, is a little bit silly. I mean, first of all, he's bringing in both outsiders, people from Chicago like Valerie Jarrett, David Axelrod. But, if you're going to find serious Democratic talent, really the only people who have experience out there are people who worked in the Clinton administration. You got to go back to Jimmy Carter, people who left government in 1980, if you're going to find people, from
right.
who weren't in the Clinton administration.
And just very quickly, Eric Holder, of course, a lot of people know, is he was the lead guy vetting Barack Obama's candidates. It's not as though this is somebody who is foreign to Barack Obama. I mean, this is someone Barack Obama has already tapped one time to help him in a very serious decision. He's not sort of a part and parcel Clinton guy. Anyway, speaking of Clinton, I think we would be remiss if we didn't at least play a little bit into the speculation about Senator Clinton and Secretary of State. It seems like the train was moving down the track pretty nicely, Dan. The last 24 hours appeared a concerted effort on the part of Clinton allies to say, well, she's not sure if she wants it or not. Where do we stand, and where is this headed quickly?
Well, I think it's still likely to happen. I think that perhaps on the part of the Clinton, in the Clinton camp, they don't want to look overly eager for this job. I think the most revealing bit of new evidence, there's reporting out today that Bill Clinton has decided that he's willing to disclose the names of donors and foreign donors to his library. And if you know anything about Bill Clinton and his unwillingness to do that for many years now, the fact that he may be willing to do that suggests that they want this job.
The point just to close on that I think a Clinton advisor made this point to me is that she is really trying to figure out what her legacy will be. She's in her early 60s. She had thought she was going to be president of the United States. She knows the next 5 years are going to be critical to sort of cementing what her legacy is, as well as what the sort of broader Clinton legacy is. And she's trying to figure out, this is the case that they make, whether she can have more influence in that legacy building as a Secretary of State or as a New York Senator. So I think that there may be some equivocation, but I agree with you 100%. I think if you had to bet, you'd bet she wound up in the Secretary of
this
State
is a
job.
couple that is very conscious of those moments when you can seize history.
Right.
And I think this is one of those moments.
Well, we'll be focused on other smaller topics than seizing history in the future as we continue to monitor the state of the Senate as well as the transition to power of the Obama administration. That's it for this week. I'm Chris Cillizza signing off on The Political Take.
And I'm Dan Kleiban. Glad you could be with us.